Oh,
Hi,
geez.
everybody. Welcome to
Hi, Deb.
Rewind. Welcome to Rewind and Reflect, where we believe in the universal truth that there's no such thing as coincidences or mistakes, and we're here to share our life experience on that with you. My name is Deb Miller.
Hi, everybody. I am Susan Doyle.
Hi, guys. I'm Kristen Dean.
And if you're watching us right now, you see these two beautiful young women who are on with us today, Jess Longmore and Olivia Wordy. They are our very special guests, and they just so happen to be the lovely daughters of Kristen and Sue. So Olivia belongs to Sue, Jess belongs to Kristen.
Yay.
And Sue's going to
Hi,
tell us
girls.
why they're on with us today
Hi,
for
I'm
all of
girls.
you.
firstborn.
Olivia is my second born, and she embodies the second born child like you would not believe. That and a Leo. She's actually a double Leo, so
Oh yeah, Leos. We love
I
a lion.
I pray.
I pray a lot.
I pray.
But
No, but seriously,
what
but
is,
before we hit record and before Olivia joined, we were talking about how Kristen and I have a commonality of being adopted, and I was talking to Jess a little bit about that. And so I said, I don't really think about it. I don't want to know or anything like that. I said, but what I wanted to tell you as a footnote is there are times because Olivia and I are so similar. Our mannerisms, the way that our facial expressions, our hair, our body, everything. I oftentimes think that there's another woman out there that is exactly like us. Every once in a while, it's kind of like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to see like three generations of
Yeah.
crazy. But, we're just going to have to stop here and we're going to have to mold the generations to come.
The generations to come, right? Olivia's going to bring a baby in one day, not in the near future, but one day, and then you'll have your three generations of
Yes.
beautiful women. Yeah.
Yes. So today, everybody, we are talking about the big D, divorce.
Oh,
So what I wanted to say What I wanted to say was that would be one of those words that my mother would whisper back in the
uh,
day. Like if somebody was getting divorced, she would say, or if somebody had cancer, she'd say. So we are now talking about divorce out loud
yes.
yeah.
today. So we
With our
brought the girls
children.
on to talk about divorce and what it, how it, landed in their lives. I don't want to say affected because that to me that brings on a negative connotation, even though there could be some negativity to it. Just how it landed in their lives, and they, to just sort of to tee it up for Debbie, and she's going to take over. Kristen's kids were young, little,
Yeah.
toddlers,
No. How old were you, Jess? You were 6 or
Jess was
7?
6. My son was
6.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My son
6.
doesn't
Yeah.
remember us together, but Jess does.
Barely.
And Olivia's dad and I got divorced. She was 16. She has an older brother who was 18. So we separated as her older brother was entering college,
So
and she
that's
was a
the
junior in high school.
So two very different
Yeah.
views on that. And I'll start this by saying, like, when we grew up, Kristen, Sue, and I in the 80s, I'll speak to Sue and I. There was one divorced
One.
family in the town that we grew up in. And I then raised my son in that same town, and more than half of the people were divorced. It was like when we were growing up, it was just divorce just didn't happen. And maybe it should have, but it just didn't. And now it's like such a common thing, sadly, but our kids really were put in a situation where they grew up with single parents.
Yeah.
Hunter, I divorced Hunter's dad when he was 2, so he has no recollection of what it was like to be in any kind of um, family with his dad. So,
Which also kind of begs the question of, to me, it's empowering that people maybe now get divorced because they are setting an example that they're no longer going to be living in a situation that doesn't serve them or um what have you
Yeah.
back, from when we were growing up. But, and people and the kids don't feel alone. I'm sure that, the
Mm.
family that was divorced that we know had four girls. I don't know what it would be like growing up in a town where you're people
The one family.
pointed at you saying, "Oh, there's the girls that, from a broken," they used to call it a broken home.
The
Yeah.
divorcee. And that always had such a bad
Negative.
connotation to it. It's
Yeah,
like, and
exactly.
we're all divorcees, except for the two wee ones on this call. But Kristen, Susan, and I are
Far.
but let's focus on the girls here. So Jess, you were 6 years old when your parents got divorced, and then you started going back and forth to your dad's house with your little brother in tow. Um, what
Always at the
what was
same
that
time.
like? Yeah, as like,
Constantly. Yeah, always on the same schedule.
yeah, tell me about that and tell the audience about what at that young age, what did that feel like to you?
The going back and forth was so confusing at the beginning. Being so young, I had no idea why it was happening. Like, I understood that mom had her own house, dad had his own house, and like they weren't together, but I didn't understand why I had to like move around. Like, what did that have to do with mom and dad? Like,
Mm,
I didn't have a conception of like their being married and then not being married having anything to do with cohabitating because I was 6. So
yeah.
like I fought it so hard. I was like, why do I have to go to dad's? And then even though I had a pretty strong preference for moms, I do the same thing at dad's. Why do I have to go to mom's? Like I was
Mm,
just like we just did this 2 3 days ago. It was so confusing and that's why I
mm.
fought it so much. In the end, it taught me a lot of patience and adaptability, but I fought it hard at that early stage.
When did you feel like the patience and adaptability came in? How many years? Like, was that when you became a teenager, or did it get
Yeah.
easier or harder? Or?
Once I became a teenager, I mean, it was still difficult then, and I still didn't want to do it more because my dad's home environment wasn't the healthiest of a home environment at that time.
Mhm.
Um, but like I don't know, the patience and adaptability, like they were very different households. Like
Yeah.
one very supportive, one very structured, one not very structured, one super, rigorous, and one very, loving.
Mm.
And that was so like crazy on your emotions. And now I think I have pretty thick skin with like that sort of stuff now. And like I got to know the different types of people and the different types of environments that people come from and like how people respond to certain situations.
Mm.
The differences, like that different people are different people, became very clear very young. Like, and that everyone's flawed and not everyone's like me became
Mhm.
clear super young to me, which has been a benefit to me for sure.
Did you ever wish that they'd get back together during those years so that you just didn't have to go back? No. No. Like, no,
No,
really? Okay.
Absolutely not.
I'm just gonna say one thing. I gave my son he declined to be interviewed for this podcast, but he did provide me some insight. And one of the things that Jessica just talked about, he said in the going back and forth, he became tougher, right? He had to be responsible for remembering stuff. Like, what do I bring to mom's? I have two houses, and like it made him more accountable for remembering a lot at a young age.
Mhm.
So I think that's cool. Like you don't think of that with a little kid, you think, oh, I'm just going to mom's house, I'm going to dad's house, but thinking that you're fighting it. And to Jess's point, like, well, they got divorced. Why do I have to move around? Why don't they move around? Like,
That does make
honestly,
perfect
like,
sense.
that's a great point.
And some people do.
Some people do
the
that.
adults leave the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Olivia, how old were you when your mom and dad decided to split and go separate ways?
I was 16.
Okay. And what was that like at that age?
Well, I kind of knew it was coming. Like, my
did?
mom and I were very transparent and honest with each other, and we spent a lot of time together, like outside of the house, like going to soccer games and stuff. So she was I like knew it was coming, right?
Yeah.
Like I think my brother was more blindsided, but he's also a boy. So if he just like opened his eyes, he would have realized that the marriage sucked. But it was pretty, like, I knew I was going to go live with my mom. Like, I already knew all of the things before it was like an official separation. Like, I was like, of course I'm going to go with you.
So prior to the actual transitioning of moving out, and let's take back, so you're 16. So like when you felt things were a little rocky and you're like, oh, this is not like, what was your thought process then? Was it scary for you to think this marriage might not work and I might have divorced parents? Or were you just like, please, mom, let's go?
It was more of
that option.
Yeah. And it wasn't like in a way where like I need to get away from my dad. It was like, I think for everyone's sanity and happiness, like we should all be in separate spaces.
Go to your own corners, so to speak.
Yeah.
She was, if I can interject, she was pretty wise in that respect. Like, she could see the toll it was taking on me. And I think nothing to do with her dad, because I do have to say that we had a very easy, amicable divorce. He is a wonderful person, very nice man. She could see what it was doing to me, and it was more of like a protection for my peace of mind, where she would say to me, how much longer are you going to be here? Like, how much longer are you going to do this kind of thing?
That's so unusual, because normally that's not the case. It's either, and especially when you're coming from a household of two very loving people that just can't seem to get it together. As kids, I mean, I will just speak to myself, like my parents separated when I was 15, and they ended up getting back together, working it out. But I loved my dad and I loved my mom, but man, I was ping-ponging back of who I was mad at certain days, and I didn't want to, but that's just the emotion that came with the fear or uncertainty of not living in a traditional household and what that's going to look like. It's fear-based. It's all fear-based of not knowing the unknown. But I do know, Olivia, that you have tremendous love and respect for both of your parents. That makes a huge difference.
I also think, if I can say something, and Olivia, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think there was more sadness than anger. It was just sad.
I mean,
for me, it was sad, because
for me, it was like, whatever. I have to say, it was like, for me, it was super blasé. Like, low-key excited to move into an apartment with my mom. Like, it was an exciting
Girls Gone Wild,
in West Hartford Center.
It was,
in West Hartford,
it was a new chapter for me, and it was weird having two different parents have two different emotions about it. Like, my mom was like, it was very much, I need to do this for myself. My dad was really sad at the beginning, and that was hard to see that occur.
How often did you see him, Olivia? How often did you see your dad?
Oh, I don't know. Like, maybe once a week, a couple of times a month. And it wasn't like I would spend the night.
It was not a formal agreement. It was not formally written to the divorce agreement.
Yeah,
because she was 16.
And I was driving I had my own car. Like, and we would just make plans. Like, we would go out to eat, or we would go to the movies, or I would go like watch football at the house. Like, it was very casual, just make plans, nothing very structured.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Jess's experience
Jess
was
would have
much
loved that.
different than that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Jess, what was it like then? For, like, of course, I lived through this, so I remember these days when your parents first got divorced. But tell me about what was it like at your soccer games when both parents would be there plus the girlfriend.
I mean, Deb knows. I'll get red even talking about it now because it was so uncomfortable. Everyone was uncomfortable. Like, there were people that didn't even know the family dynamic that were uncomfortable.
Really? Oh,
Like, it was, people knew, like, that something was going on because my dad's girlfriend was so visibly upset about my mom's presence, even though it was, you know, a child-based activity like my softball game, my band concert, my little brother's soccer game, like, and there was no reason for tension, but it was so obvious and so tormenting. Like, and it wasn't my mom or dad doing it, to be honest with you. I can't believe I'm saying this on public forum.
It's okay. No names are being used.
It is totally fine. But like, no one got along. None of the adults were necessarily acting like adults. Like, it was crazy. It was uncomfortable, and I blocked it out a little bit. Like, the parts I remember of softball is softball. Like, I know my parents were at every game. I know they were because they always were, but I couldn't tell you really any distinct memories of them being there because I was so not focused on the stands and so very focused on my friends and the insular sport and that sort of stuff. Like, it was a totally different dynamic I didn't want to be a part of in the sidelines.
Yeah.
There were the people in the stands, the other parents were aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
And thank God, Jess, you weren't. It was terrible. It was an awful time. For me, I'll speak for myself. You know, I often blame your father for not, you know, nipping that in the bud. And I think of,
but it was terrible for him too because he has no social awareness and no ability to nip that in the butt.
Exactly. Like, he was, you know, who got along. It's so funny to say this. And
you and the girlfriend
talking about this the other day. Not my ex-husband and my boyfriend Phil at the time. They got along famously. They were, and Phil was very friendly. He was nice to everybody. He, you know, he was good to my kids. He got along with all the other parents. I was
they had the same level of social anxiety and social awkwardness.
So let me ask a question. Let me ask a question. How far past the divorce did your dad have a girlfriend and your mom have a boyfriend?
Oh, wow. My dad is still with my lovely not stepmother, but she's basically my stepmother. They've been together 15 years at this point, Ma.
Crazy.
It was 4 years after we got divorced. They were together, and then it was a year later Phil and I got together.
And you and Phil have been apart for, God, has it been 5 years yet? Or
3.5, maybe.
3.5. Okay.
3.5. Yeah.
Oh, you've done so much growth.
I know, hasn't she?
I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of you.
One of the things that, and then I want, Olivia had something to say. One of the things, kind of going back a little bit to what Sue, you were talking about, how Olivia just kind of has this sense, and she's very wise. I remember when I was not with Jessica's dad, but with Phil, Jessica came to me one day and said, you know, Mom, she knew I was unhappy. And this was years before we split up. She said, you know, Mom, you don't have to stay with him. Like, she just saw it. She saw it all. Like, you know, like Olivia was talking, like, just why are you doing this to yourself? So, but anyway, Olivia, did you have something you wanted to comment?
Well, I mean, part of that is there comes a point in your life where you realize that, like, this is your parents' first time going through life too. Like there's mistakes to be made, there's things to learn, you know, like they're not all knowing beings, you know, like, and the only way to learn that is to live it. So for Jess to be like, you know, you don't have to stay with him, that's like the first time being in a relationship outside of your marriage that you're like, you know what, I don't have to settle, you know. But at the same time, as a daughter, like you kind of just have to let them figure it out. Like all you can do is offer advice or your input, and they kind of have to make that decision or come to that realization for it to actually work or stick.
Going off what Olivia said too, like even just being able to see that and say that to you, Mom, that you didn't have to stay with him, that was something you taught me, but you weren't willing to give yourself. Like you were so, you hounded into me that like, you don't need no man, you don't need like no financial support from a man, no like ring from a man before you can like support yourself on your own 2 feet. Like you are your own woman and you are fully successful and capable without a partner. And like you did not see that for yourself. And that was
I
crazy.
almost feel like Olivia taught me that more than I taught her that. Seriously. Yeah. It to me, I feel like it was a reversal. Like I always had a job, always had a career, always knew, always had a sock drawer, always knew that if push came to shove, like I could do this by myself. Like I never compromised that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I never truly wholly relied on somebody to take care of me. But there is that scary, you know, there is that trepidation or that scariness to take that step, right? And I do feel as though I knew it. Olivia was the one who supported me as I stepped out of my comfort zone because she knew it too. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't teaching. We were almost like she was sort of mirroring back at me the things that I silently knew. But I didn't really ever say them out loud.
And
she said them out loud.
This comes full circle to the conversation about divorces being uncommon back in the day. Because I think it's just a different generation that's learning from the mistakes of the past it's not a projection of women having to get married right out of college. It's not, they can do it on their own time with the right partner, and really like learning that it doesn't have to be that timeline that's always been set, and that it's better to wait for a person than to be stuck with someone that you don't like and you can't get divorced from. So I feel like it was marry young, you can't get divorced, to marry young, you can get divorced, to marry late and stay together. That's kind of been the generational pop.
It's so true. That timeline that we grew up with, but we're breaking that timeline. Like
we did.
That timeline it's so outdated. And yet even to today, people still try to follow that timeline, and people shouldn't follow that timeline because you don't even know.
Well, this goes back to one of our very first podcasts where we talked about the script that we grew up with is get good grades, go to a good school, and like get married and have kids. And there was because our moms, they didn't have, if they had jobs, it was part-time sort of for play money, right? And that's what they did. But then we sort of felt like there's something more here, but we didn't have a blueprint.
Right.
We knew that there was something more for us, but we didn't have a blueprint. So we sort of went with the blueprint, but it didn't really feel good. And so now our daughters are turning around and giving us permission to feel good and be in a relationship. It's accessible, it's doable, and it's attainable.
So I'm going to ask Jess this because she's newly married and she's do you think that going through what you went through with your parents being divorced and you be about, like, is that going to stick with you if you ever have children and think like, I got to get out of here? But like, are you going to be, what does that feel like to you? coming from a divorced household, does that make you want to stay married even more? Or are you going to be like, if it works, it works. If not, I'm going.
So, I mean, we're a little different because we don't have any interest or uh, don't anticipate any children in the
Any
future.
children, yeah.
So,
Okay.
like, just divorce becomes a way easier decision for
Mhm.
someone like me who doesn't plan on having kids.
Mhm.
And I feel comfortable coming where I came from, knowing that I would be able to make that decision if I needed it. Unlike you, our grandparents' generation, you guys, your mother's generation, who probably weren't comfortable bringing up divorce if it became an option. So I think like it being so popular and what you guys are saying, like everyone growing up, I think 80% of people came from divorced homes, 20% were marriages, and those 20% seemed like really successful, really healthy marriages a lot of the time. So I, on the other side, had a blueprint for what a good, successful marriage looks like. Um, my mom, I had an elementary school friend. She'll probably know who I'm talking about. Her parents are still married to this day, and they have just this fantastic relationship. And when my dad wasn't available for the daddy-daughter dance, I danced with her dad. Like he was a great guy, and they had a great, great, great relationship. So like, I don't know, those two things, like those two flip sides, seeing successful marriages, seeing many divorced people that ended up leading successful lives and being awesome women divorcees. And I've seen awesome single dads in my, friend group of divorced kids as well. And like that made me super comfortable with divorce, like easily super comfortable with it. But I also think it made me pickier about my partner, and it made me really, really think about marriage before I chose it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it makes me confident I can choose it if it needs to happen. Not that I think it's going to. I am newly married, so I don't think it's going to, but I feel totally comfortable with the idea of divorce, and I feel totally comfortable with its necessity in some cases. And it's not an uncomfortable subject for me. Like just like the point of this podcast, like Sue said in the intro, we're saying the D word, we're saying the big D word out loud right here. Like that's how we should be talking about it. Like us all comfortably chit-chatting about the impact it's had.
There's
Yeah,
no
agreed.
shame associated with it in your generation.
That's
None.
right.
Yeah.
None at all.
We straddled, so Kristen, Deb, and I straddled the fence between liberation and shame,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
for sure.
And now we're celebrating, like my generation celebrates their divorces with cakes. Like it's
Parties,
I
yeah.
know.
yeah.
So Olivia, I'm going to
don't-
ask you,
yeah.
did it affect you when you were dating, or
Well, I definitely wasn't picky. So
You were?
there's that.
I mean, I've had shithole boyfriends, like of course. Like, but that's just,
It's your rite of passage.
Do you
Yeah,
think that
it
had
is.
something to do with the divorce though, or are you just
No,
like,
because
hey,
I mean the assholes I like knew were assholes, but like stuck around for some reason. I don't think that has anything to do with divorce.
Do you think let me stop you right there. Do you think it has to do with you seeing me compromise that I could have demanded more for myself? So do you think that
Whoa.
influenced it all?
Maybe the picking of I don't
I got
know.
a bad picker. I got a bad picker. You can say it. I got a bad picker.
Yeah. That I mean, like none of them one of them was inherently awful, but like none of them were like bad people. It just didn't work, and like maybe staying in those relationships for a little too long, like wanting it to work or figuring that out when like at the end of the day at 21, like I really don't have to. Like there's plenty of fish in the sea. Maybe, yeah. But also at the same time, I think that was just everyone does that, right? Like you want to try and make an effort to like work with a person that there's things that I liked about every one of them, but there was things that just did not work between us too. And also like age wise, like there's growing up to do on my side, on their side. It's just timeline in general. I don't think that I've aspired to be married at any point in my life. Even with my partner now, who I think is like the most perfect person ever, like I don't necessarily need that as an end goal to feel fulfilled. That's probably part of divorce, of just like,
that's totally a value I got out of divorce. That same thing you just said. Never aspired to marriage.
Yeah, it's not like this end goal that I need to reach in my life. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
So you're not closed off. You're open to the idea, but it's not. It's not.
Yeah, like, for me, it's
like
it's like I think weddings are, a lot of money, like I do have this like weird look at weddings and marriage, but it's not a no, and I don't like hate them, and I understand why people do them.
Yeah.
It definitely influenced my decision to get married. Like we eloped, so we did not have a wedding. We did not even tell our moms. So like
a month later, all of a sudden, Jess is married. What?
Yeah.
I couldn't be happier though. I never, from the time I was a small little girl, and I come from obviously the generation that like you said, I love how you put that, like you straddled the shame and the whatever
liberation.
Yeah.
But I never, ever, 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 I looked at people planning weddings, having weddings. I went to weddings. Almost all the weddings I went to, everybody got divorced. I was like, why am I wasting my money, my time, and my sanity, and we didn't get married until I was pregnant with Aaron. So, Jessica was 3 years old when we got married, but we went away. We didn't know anybody that was there. Like I just never, this is just a quick little aside. I used to beg my dad to divorce my mom. I used to be like, please leave her. Like, because I saw that she was the loose cannon in the relationship. I saw that, but they got together, Deb and Sue. Like my parents got married, they were both 21. I think George and Sandy were 19 or 20, right? Think of how younger than Olivia right now, getting married. Like whatever. It's just
getting married, having kids, raising kids, doing all the thing. And my parents just celebrated 60 years. I don't get it. Like some of us, it works and others, it just doesn't. And they had some, like all of the people that we know that are married and continue to stay married, they have the same challenges that we have in our marriages, I feel like. I mean, maybe some are not as extreme or they might be a little bit different, but they still suffer with heartbreak and insecurity and distrust and, or raising the children in two different ways and not being able to communicate, all of those things that happen in relationships, they happen. Our parents went through the same thing. I don't know why some work and some don't.
I know.
I just don't know. But I mean, what I find is beautiful, and I love that the girls are sharing all this with us, because there's two very different experiences of growing up with divorced parents. And yes, Olivia, you were 16, but that still is a 16-year-old is like, that's right when you're coming into like figuring out how relationships work, and you're looking at your parents to be like, this is what it should look like, whether that's good or bad. It's like all you know and all you have in front of you. So that was such a pivotal age, but you still came through that with very much like, if it's not working out and you're not happy and fulfilled and feeling all the good things, you got to go. And that's remarkable, and Jess, you were little and you had the traditional back and forth and every Wednesday night for dinner and every other weekend and blah, 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 blah. and then the other significant others coming into the picture. I mean, you had like the most traditional divorce brought up kind of scenario than,
Very
that.
textbook.
Yeah, very
Very
textbook.
textbook. Yeah. Like,
And here
Tuesday,
you
Thursday,
and
every other weekend, that kind of thing is.
mhm.
and
Quite
here you are,
Yeah,
and
I
now
have
you're
a
married.
yeah.
You're
We talked
married.
about having Hunter on here, who's Debbie's son. But while Deb divorced him when you said Hunter was 2, Deb.
Yeah, he was about 2.5. Yeah.
So
He has
not a
no
lot
recollection of,
forth.
yeah.
He stayed with you. It was
Yeah, there was no back and forth or
no back
anything.
and
It was a
forth.
very different situation,
totally
so.
different. So there's like unending perspectives that you could gather on this, because I mean, no two set of parents that's getting divorced is the same, and no
Yeah.
kid is in the same place for the same reasons when that happens. Like, I don't know. I think it's really important, like, even though I struggled with so many of these things, like, my dad easily could have like dated a woman that was your best friend, mom. Like, anything, just like you were saying about your parents ending up together, Debbie. Like, there is any roll of the dice, anything could have happened to any of us.
But okay, so I'm going to ask this question, and I'd like Jess to answer it first, and then Olivia. Like, for those, there's somebody listening to this right now, and they're like, oh, I got to get out of this marriage, but my kids, I'm worried about my kids. And what's it going to do to my kids? And Jess, speak to the woman who has the young children. What advice would you give to her?
I mean, it's so hard because the kids' intellect changes so much in that time, but like, speak to them like they're a part of it, because they are a part of it. So,
A part
like,
of the decision making,
not a
or
part of the decision making, but like, speak to them about what's happening. Like,
okay.
explain everything in detail. Why, when, why, how are these things happening? And especially the why, like, because most of my anger came from confusion, not
Okay.
from actual
Interesting.
anger at either my mom or my dad. Like,
Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
they
Yes, that's
weren't
Very well
huge.
doing
taken.
anything bad to me. Neither
Right.
one of them were doing anything bad to me. They were hurting. They needed to make a change. And I was happier in the end because that change happened. I'm a better person. I had a better childhood. I'm a more well-adjusted person because they made the decision to get divorced. My only thing would be just involve the child, like, explain to your young ones, like, even though you think they may not have the capacity to understand it in full, they sure as hell have the capacity to be confused and angry.
Yeah.
Like,
So that is huge.
Great.
And one question also on that, like, so if somebody's got like a young child, 6, 7, 8 years old, and they're just like, I don't want to go to dad's this weekend. I don't want to go to dad's this weekend. Like, how do you deal with that? Do you say, well, you're going because that's part of the deal, or do you give in to them?
it's
I mean, like,
impossible. It's impossible. I mean, I went through both. I went through both the being like just carted off, like, you gotta go, and in some cases the relenting and just getting to go where I wanted to go, and neither one is a perfect situation. But I don't know, that's an impossible question to answer.
yeah, I'm
It
just wondering,
really,
like, if you're looking back and saying, no, I'm glad that I was forced to do something that I did
no,
not want to do.
no.
Okay.
I wish, like, I looking back, and maybe I'll feel differently. I'm still growing and learning now about that, like, my childhood, but I think, like, protecting my sense of safety, which was often staying at mom's, was where I felt safest, was probably the most important thing. Even though I learned a ton about resilience and adapting, like, there were certain things that absolutely there was no way I could say no to that little girl who was asking to stay at mom's house. Like, But
so hard. I remember you calling,
yeah,
like it would be on your dad's watch, and
I
you.
tormented you, Mom.
I mean, you
Like,
did. It was
I did though.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like I was like, you had like it's a divorce decree. I have to do this. I have to. But
Mhm.
both of my children, Deb, you know this, when they turned 16, they were like, I remember Aaron walked from his father's house to my house and he said, I'm never going back. And
Then he walked.
that was like,
Yeah.
but it was so torturous to listen to my little girl crying. I just want you to come get me.
Mm-hmm.
That for anybody out there who's contemplating, Jess has a good point. Maybe if I had explained to her the process, the legal obligation I have.
I had no idea what a divorce decree was, but I
Right.
could have understood it by a certain age.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I could have taken it out and whatever, but
it's
anyway,
fine. Like, it is fine. It is fine. And like, I have no hard feelings about it. I also think it was good for me to go both places, to be both places, to have my mom and my dad in my life. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
You just wanted some clarity for the confusion that you were feeling. So that's
She wanted the
huge.
answer to the why. Why am I doing this?
the why, the
Yes.
big old why.
Yeah.
And I
I
know
get
that
that.
seems like a super hard question to answer to a 6-year-old, but it's super hard for you too as the person contemplating divorce. So like, I don't know. It's
No,
so
you
hard.
did that good. That's a huge takeaway. Thank you. And Olivia, for you as a teenager, what would you say to the parent who has teenagers and they're thinking about separating?
That it's better to see your parents happy apart than miserable together.
No
That's
matter how hard it's going to be, that's the end result.
mhm.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
I have a
huge.
question for Jess
Yeah.
and Kristen. So, well, firstly, did your ex-husband stay in the home that you shared together?
Yes, he's still.
Okay,
Yes.
so Olivia's dad did too.
Mhm.
And I think, there was this part of him that was like, oh, the kids will come home.
Yeah.
I think uh I think it's hard because you're not really like I almost do you either one of you felt kind of homeless, like you didn't really have a home base because home wasn't really home anymore, and then you're also in a new environment that wasn't quite home yet.
I did once you moved, like while I was at school. Like you changed apartments
Mm-hmm.
and ever since then, I felt like I haven't had like a home to go home to. It's like my mom lives here and my dad lives here.
Mm-hmm.
I
Is
never
your
have.
dad still in the house that you grew up in, Olivia?
No, he sold it like
Okay.
10 years ago or so. And like now he lives with like his fiance. But she has kids. Like there's no room for me to stay really, like except in the basement. My mom has like a room for me, in her house, but like it's not mine. It's not like where I.
Right, she doesn't have to sleep on the couch, but it's not like they
Her
ever
old
lived
home.
here.
Yeah.
She or
That's
Tyler ever lived here to call it home base.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though our experiences are very different, I would say I have the same thoughts as Olivia. Like,
Mm.
and I wouldn't even say that I ever thought of Dad's house as home. I would really say like home was just wherever like me and my brother were at any given time. Like, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I do think that as we got older, home became mom's house. Aaron and I would probably agree that. Like, we would say to each other when we were at dad's, I want to go home. And that meant outside of our childhood home, not inside of our childhood home. So I think, like, anyone who's thinking about that, like the physical space that you're leaving, no, like, don't consider it because the more important thing is, like, the human connection. Like me, my brother, my mom, like that's what made home home. We moved a couple of times and like I never felt homeless. Never.
You love that apartment that Debbie hated.
I loved that apartment that Debbie hated.
With the pajama pants stuffed
the
around the
window.
I
air
was like, you
conditioner.
can't live here. She's like, I have no other choice, because she was moving to another place and it was like a temporary housing, but I was like, this is not okay. This is not safe.
That was
It's
part of
fine.
that whole thing where that was a big mess when I moved back into the school district, because there was a big rift with my ex-husband and his girlfriend. And I was living in an adjacent town and I did not want my kids in that school system. So I was like, well, and thank God, like I would consider your childhood home New Hartford, really, right?
I would
Like,
consider it Glendale.
oh, all right. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
So
Yeah.
that's wild. Like all
Yeah.
my core Hunter and Debbie memories are
Are
Glendale.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's my childhood when I think about it. Like
Yeah.
that's my young childhood, I guess. Like I had a whole other childhood when I was a teenager, but
Yeah. Yes. Oh my
Yeah, I
gosh.
would say,
Well,
and you can chime in, Olivia. When people say, I would just say Avon
Agreed.
was your childhood home, not necessarily the brick and mortar house but we would always say Avon. But when they were teenagers, they went to school in a different town.
That's what I was going to
So
ask.
they left Avon to go to high school.
So you didn't have to change, Olivia, you didn't have to change schools when your parents divorced.
No.
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
In
No,
fact,
so they were already
closer to school and like so
West
close to
Hartford.
school. Like I
Yes.
could roll out of bed and be at class in 5 minutes.
oh, nice.
BTW, she was still late.
I was always like, I had to stop for a coffee on the Dunkin's on the corner.
BTW.
So you know what?
She was still late to
funny?
school.
Olivia and Jess strike me as very similar. And Olivia, you said something at the beginning. You said, so many kids in your age group, and Jess is a little bit older than you. But you said when you were 16, you had a car, you had your license. There are both of my children were chomping at the bit to get their license because they both worked, blah, blah, blah. And I was just having this conversation with a coworker the other day. I'm like, what is it with this generation not wanting to get out on the road? But
that was the ticket to freedom.
Yeah.
That license.
Oh my God.
Ticket to freedom. That's a whole other podcast that we could talk about the cars we used to drive. But
I just got
I think
wait, one thing about the driving thing. So Sue turned 16 in January, and I had to wait till November when I turned 16. So she drove me everywhere in that big old
1975 Chevy Nova, and don't you forget it, sister. Okay,
that's
listen, we had a boom box. It was bench seats back and front.
Oh, that's
boom
awesome.
box in the front seat. A whole bunch of shit in the back.
So then
Oh
comes
my God.
birthday.
We could fit, I'm not kidding you, I could fit 12 people in that
12
car.
people easily. It was quite the ride. And so November comes around and I'm like, it's time for my license. And I go to get my license. And my parents were both working, so my brothers brought me to the DMV.
Oh.
And we got there and I go and they're like, you need a parent here with you to take this test.
That sucks.
I was so mad. That night
but then Debbie gets a Supra, a Toyota Celica Supra, which was basically a sports car.
It was. I had no business driving that. I drove it around town with the emergency brake up for
thought our shit didn't stink. Oh yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Virginia Slims hanging out the window.
Yeah. So anyways, I remember those days but you're right. There's a lot of kids nowadays that just are not interested in getting their license. And I don't understand that at all because, and the other thing I wanted to touch on was you guys are talking about like home base. So I raised Hunter in a small, tiny little condominium in Farmington Woods, the Avon part, of Farmington Woods. And I always felt so, I mean, I was grateful that I had the ability to have a home that I owned, and but I was always like, oh, looking around at the other big homes, and he'd go to his friends' houses and they all had these homes and yards and blah, 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 blah. But I'll tell you something. He sends me pictures and videos like of remember whens and of that little tiny little condo, which Jess and Kristen spent many, many a day in. And he always says those were the best days of my life. I
Oh,
loved being there. And I was like, really? I always felt like it wasn't enough, and it's just so sad. We spend so much time thinking that where we are in life is not enough. And
yeah.
it's more than enough, no matter where we are. So, anyways, thank
Yeah.
you, Jess and Olivia, for being our special guests
Thanks for
Thank you
being
today.
so
here.
much, ladies.
Yeah, and I'm
Do you guys have
certain.
any closing statements? Jess, Olivia,
Sorry, I was
anybody?
late.
What?
Stop.
Sorry, I was late.
Oh, no
Oh,
big deal. It's
We weren't
fine.
going to tell on you, Olivia.
Okay.
No, we didn't even mention it. She told on herself. I have to say that, for me, I am grateful. I am grateful that I chose the liberation side of the fence rather than the shame side of the fence. And I am super, super grateful that my daughter can be witness
Mhm.
to me growing up and me growing. I
Mm.
think that's, if I could be so bold as to say the greatest gift out of the divorce was her being witness to seeing me grow into the person that I knew I could be and I knew that I wanted to be.
Mm.
And she was there sort of holding my hand, but she was also there, we went back and forth guiding each other, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think the divorce was a bad thing at all. I think I became who I was meant to be. I think her dad became who he was meant to be. He's in a wonderful
Mm.
relationship. We,
Thanks to
I
me, by
mean,
the way. Thanks to
oh,
me.
yes,
Deb.
Match made
Queen,
for
yes.
Debbie.
It was thanks to you and Greg. Yes.
Aw,
Brother
Um,
Greg?
You're welcome, brother
Brother
oh
Greg.
Greg.
yeah. Yeah. But I mean, her dad and I still, up until a couple years ago when I didn't work there anymore, did business together. There was never negative talk about each other.
Mm.
We were both very happy for one another. And I think that probably helped with, the kids adjusting as well.
I'm very grateful there was no revenge or anger towards the other. It was like it was a mutual agreement. I don't want to say of defeat, but it was like they both kind of put their hands up and were like, you know what? We're not too much has happened for us to move forward, or we're just going in two different directions. And I'm really grateful that they made that decision. Like they're
Mm.
both so significantly happier, in better spaces. I'm sure my brother and I also benefit from them being, not stuck in this loveless relationship. To go,
Yeah.
I want to go home now. Yes, I have to go to two different homes. That's a pain in the ass, but it's better than not wanting to like go to your parents because they're just gonna like bicker and fight, or they're miserable, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it was, no one wants to get divorced either. I really think that when you reach that point of decision, you've exhausted all your options. Like therapy was done, all of the things. It just didn't work out, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
And
Yeah,
two,
that's
At that
okay. That's a
point, it's
two
great.
people can
so
still love
much.
each other and get divorced and it be okay. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I think that's a perfect way to sum it up that,
Hmm.
divorce is okay.
It's
and you
okay.
very much navigated your divorce with love still. Not resentment, not
Thank you.
hatred, not
Mm.
Yeah.
revenge. Like it was very much just amicable, at least from the children's side. I don't, I,
Oh, from my side, I think from my side too. I think your dad's side too, even
mm.
though he was a little slower to the uptake
Well, yeah,
with
because like
everything, but
it
he's a guy.
Yeah,
He's a
because
guy.
he's a guy that was like, oh shit, I
Go
probably
Yeah.
slower.
changed or done anything at all to,
I mean, I don't think there's any regrets either. I think it was just sort of like months went by and he's like, oh shit, this actually really happened, didn't it? Kind of
And
thing.
then it's like,
You know
oh
what I
shit,
mean?
I feel better. Oh shit, like I'm not
Yeah.
depressed. Oh
Yeah.
shit, like I feel wow, hopeful. Like it's a natural progression.
And I think, I don't think it's a defeat. I think, for us, Kristen, Deb, and I, and women our age, I like to, like I said, it's setting an example that you don't have to stay, that you have the tools and you have, you'll be okay. And it's somewhat of a changing a generational dialogue.
For the better.
Yes.
We forget too, our mothers couldn't get like a credit card or a bank loan on their own without a man signing. Like those are things. I don't think my
And
mom
like
ever
we were alive when that was still happening.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for
It was
It was
sure.
like
early
1970
70s.
something when they
Yeah.
could get a credit card.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like think of that.
So,
And you go, oh my God. Awful.
we've what was that? I think it was a Virginia Slim commercial
We've
where it
come a
said, "We
long
came
way,
a long
baby."
way, baby." Yeah, right? That was the
Virginia Slim
tagline.
Light Menthol. Thank you very much.
Good
Virginia
God.
Slim should have sponsored this episode.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
kidding.
If anybody's
Yes.
listening,
Yes,
do
Virginia
Virginia
Slim.
Slims even exist still? Are they
Yes,
still
I
they do.
don't
made?
think
I think
so.
so. I think they do. I don't know, but
Oh,
I don't know. I
I
haven't
don't
looked in
know.
quite some time. But Jess, what do you have? Do you have any final parting words
Final
for the
words?
audience?
Oh, I think we're doing the right thing by talking about divorce. I think that anyone who's thinking about it should definitely be thinking about it. If you're at the point where you're thinking about it, then think some more and you're probably on the right path. And listening to this, you're definitely on the right path by seeking out the advice of other women, other peers, and your children's peers or soon to be peers. You are on the right path to doing it right and doing what's best for you. And that's super, super cool.
Awesome.
I love that.
Okay to be
I love that.
Thank you, ladies.
It is okay to be
much.
selfish.
Yes.
And taking care of yourself is not selfish.
Important, not selfish.
Yeah.
Trickles down and affects everyone for the better.
So good. I
Yes.
love seeing your beautiful faces.
Me
I'm
too.
so proud of you both. I really
am
you're
too.
just such
I am too.
I'm proud of you, ladies. Look at you.
I know. Wait, we're supposed to be proud of you on this episode.
We'll be proud of each other.
I have one parting thought I want to share, like, because I was thinking about this, and Jessica talked about talking to kids, like no matter how little they are, talk to them. I always felt like when I was a kid, my parents, it was their way or the highway. They were always right, even when they were wrong. Like they never admitted wrongdoing. And I feel like I hope that for our children and your generation, that we as parents, with the open dialogue and talking about these things and taking like one of our children saying, you know what, mom, that really sucked, that really hurt my feelings, or that was like, you could have done this instead, like listening and taking it in and learning rather than being like, I'm the parent and
My
I'm
way
right
or the highway.
because I said so. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, and also to piggyback on that, as a parent, you think you're supposed to know everything.
Right. I don't.
Right. And so, as my yoga teacher always says, number one, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Number two, even when you think you have it all figured out, you don't.
No. Right.
You know what I mean? We don't have to have all the answers. We can show our kids that we're still in progress. And that's where the real transformation happens, is when you show the whole world, including your children, that you are still in progress.
Humble.
Yeah. All right. Many blessings to everybody. Thank you
Love
for joining
everybody.
us. Namaste. We'll see you next week.
Namaste. Love you. Bye.
Yeah.